Thanks, Dorothy, and thank you for coming out to listen to the diamond session. And yeah, I get a chance to shoehorn in an exploration story between production stories from Africa and then a development and soon-to-be production story in Renard coming up. But we're an exploration company and working to identify the next round of diamond deposits that can be developed in the pipeline. Standard cautionary language for what I'm about to talk about. North Arrow rolled itself out as a diamond exploration company here at the PDAC about 3 years ago. The opportunity and that we were presenting at that time was pulling together a group of experienced individuals that had experience in the identification of prospective areas for diamonds, exploring for them, evaluating them, and taking them all the way through the pipeline, through development and into production. We identified a number of projects that we thought fit the bill quite well, and we also brought to the table at the time the ability to finance that exploration. Since then, we've raised over $18 million in the last 3 years. For that money, our shareholders have been exposed to a 1,500-ton bulk sample from our Qilalugaq Project, 4 different drill programs. We have a drill program, another one underway right now at our Piku project that I'll talk about, and another drill program we're mobilizing next week at a redemption project in the Lac de Gras area. A number of airborne geophysical surveys, ground geophysical surveys, I think 8 different till sampling programs. And the point is that we've been able to take the funding that we've been able to get and effectively invest that in our projects and try and move forward and advance those projects and to do so in a cost-effective way. Another benefit that we've had with the financings that we've been able to do is we've been able to do those during this market on a warrant-free basis, which has kept our capitalization very attractive, currently just sitting at under 60 million shares on a fully diluted basis. Management and directors currently own just around 16% of the company. Our largest current shareholder is Zebra Holdings, which is a family trust of the Lundin family. And our largest institutional shareholder is JP Morgan out of London, and they have just under 10% of the company. As usual with these presentations, I'm not going to go through the bio of everybody involved in the company. We have a booth here, it's 2707. I'd be happy to take you through the experience and the background of everybody involved in the company, but it is quite an experienced group, as I mentioned earlier on. So our portfolio, we have 7 projects in the company. I'm going to take us through the current drilling program that we're doing at Piku in Saskatchewan. I'll also talk about redemption in the Lac de Gras area, where we're going to be mobilizing a drill next week. And then I'm also going to just wrap things up by talking about 2 of our projects in Nunavut, the Qilalugaq Project and Mel. So Piku was North Arrow's first success. We identified and discovered kimberlites in this area of Saskatchewan in 2013 in partnership with Stornoway Diamond Corporation. After announcing that discovery, we announced that they were diamond bearing, in particular the PK150 kimberlite. Since then, we've identified 7 different kimberlites. We've tested 4 of them to see if there's diamonds, and all 4 were diamondiferous. But PK150 remains the most significant, having recovered over 1,200 diamonds from about 530 kilos of kimberlite. This is a brand new discovery. It's located in the northern Sask Craton in Saskatchewan. It sits about halfway between L'Orange and Flin Flon on the Manitoba border, right close to the communities of Deschambault Lake and Pelican Narrows. So about 10 kilometers from the Saskatchewan Highway and the power grid. So very well located. Being a new discovery, I'll just take you quickly through some of the history because I think it is a bit important. This is the key thing for Piku is that till sampling works. It's very important. It was critical to the discovery of these kimberlites. This map shows what the till sampling looked like that Stornoway had completed up to the point where North Arrow became involved in the project. There's 2 well-defined indicator mineral trains. We drilled in 2013 at the head of those trains, discovered kimberlite at the head of both trains, including PK150. And then the next year, the joint venture decided, instead of going back and carrying on quickly with more drilling, that we needed to do more till sampling because we felt there were more discoveries to be made. We essentially doubled the number of till samples that had been previously collected from the property, identified some more indicator trains, and then last winter, in a 3,500 meter drilling program, we identified and discovered the PK311, 312, and 314 kimberlites. as I touched on, it is a new area. It's not a brownfields district. It's not a district where we can point to an existing mine and say, there's the endowment. It's been proven. We are in a new area, and I think it's important to look back at first principles and why we think it's worthwhile continuing to invest money here and to continue to evaluate the project. And for me and for our group, it was really the mineral chemistry in this area. It was really quite compelling. This is a classic chrome calcium plot of the pyrope garnets that we recovered from Piku. A lot of you in the audience will be familiar with the terms G9 and G10 garnets, which are essentially divided by this horizontal line through the diagram. And the real takeaway is the fact that the pyrope garnets from Piku essentially straddle that line, and it's a very important indicator when looking at the prospectivity of a region for its diamond potential. Having a cluster of pyrope garnets that sit along that line is very encouraging, as is the presence of these more scattered and fewer grains, but with these grains here with really quite high and exceptional chrome contents. Those garnets, they come from deep within the mantle. Some of those garnets probably traversed in the neighborhood of 30, 35, maybe even 40 kilometers of diamond stable mantle on their way to the surface. And that's really important because that means that the kimberlite magma that sampled those garnets and brought them to the surface would have had the chance of 30 or 40 kilometers of diamond stable mantle in which to pick up any diamonds that might be present there. The kimberlites were very effective at sampling that mantle and bringing it to the surface. In this slide, you can see some examples of some of the mantle nodules that have come up. So these are chunks, these are rocks from the Earth's mantle that have been brought up in the kimberlite and frozen in place at surface. So they've effectively sampled the mantle and brought these rocks to the surface, and the real proof is in the presence of diamonds. And as I mentioned earlier, PK150 is significantly diamondiferous. This is a plot that just shows diamond distribution from PK150 from our initial discoveries in 2013 in the red line, and the black line shows us the results from last winter's drilling. Separated them out just to show the difference, and for us this is very much confirms the fact that the initial results were real, that the kimberlite contains a significant number of diamonds, and that further work is warranted. So as I mentioned, we're currently drilling, and one of the questions we get right now is we should be collecting a bigger sample and getting an idea of what the macrodiamond content would be like from PK150. When evaluating deposits and areas and doing exploration, you really need to be looking at what's the critical question, what needs to be answered here to see whether this project has the legs to go forward. And for Piku right now, we need more discoveries. We need tonnage, and the current drill program is focused on making new discoveries, testing additional targets at the head of these trains. If winter hangs in, we should have another good couple of weeks of drilling to go, and look forward to updating the market at the end of the program on how that has progressed. With that drilling winding down towards the end of this month, that will correspond quite well with the startup drilling that we're planning for the Redemption project in the Lac de Gras region. This map here gives us an idea of where Redemption sits at the west end of Lac de Gras, about 350 kilometers north of Yellowknife. We'll take in a closer look at where the project is located with respect to the Acadian and the Diavik mines. It's very close, within 30 or 40 kilometers of those economic kimberlites. Also not too far, shown in yellow here is our LDG joint venture with Dominion Diamond Corporation. Dominion is the operator of that joint venture and will be conducting work in that area this year. One of the takeaways from this map is you can see all the yellow triangles. Those are the kimberlites of the Lac de Gras field, and there's very few of them south of the lake itself in the area where these two properties are located, and that might just be the way it is. We don't think that's the case. We think that there are more kimberlites here to be discovered, and I would just point out that one of the initiatives that the government of the Northwest Territories has taken, and through the NWT Geological Survey, is they've undertaken a look at the superficial geology of the entire Lac de Gras area, and this is really important work. It's the kind of work and the kind of investment in public geoscience that governments can make, because companies don't do this kind of evaluation. Governments have the ability to take a look at the bigger picture and try and answer some key questions. It's obvious that in the first round of exploration in the Lac de Gras area, we won't have found them all. A lot of that was very much a geophysical-driven exercise once the initial discoveries were made. Now we're looking at more subtle targets, and key to that is going to be understanding the glacial history of this region, and this investment by the GNWT and Canor is, I think, very important, and will benefit us in our ability to identify and interpret what's happening at both Redemption and on the LDG joint venture. But with respect to Redemption and why we're there and what we're trying to accomplish with this upcoming program, I think that this map really does show it all. This is one that we've been showing for a little while. But this cluster of till samples, one big difference between here and Piku and the Barren Lands, you can collect a till sample wherever you want. You don't need to worry about trees, and getting samples collected is a lot easier. But this indicator train, the ice movement was to the northwest, and it is clearly cut off here, right in the middle of the property. And there should be a bedrock source for that indicator train, and that's what we're going to be looking to try and find with this upcoming drilling. You can see there's another indicator train just to the north that trends off to the southeast corner of the property. There is a known bedrock source for that train, the monument kimberlites, which is more proof that it does work, that if you have a well-defined indicator train, there should be a kimberlite source for those indicators. When we look at the history of the Redemption area, there's been obviously a lot of till sampling. There's been a lot of money for till sampling, a lot of mineral chemistry. We know that it's Lac de Gras type chemistry, which is good. A lot of money for geophysical surveys. But through that history of that exploration, often money kind of ran out when it came time to do drilling. And when we look at the amount of drilling that's been done in the Redemption area, there's about a total of 15 drill holes that have been drilled in this general area to look for targets, and that's compared to elsewhere in Lac de Gras, that's not very much drilling at all. So in the mention next week, we have the drill mobilizing. We'll be drilling through to the end of April to test a number of targets that we've identified. Our target ranking is based on location of the targets with respect to that indicator mineral cutoff, as well as size potential, and then also making sure that we test a variety of different targets as we move forward. So really the key thing here when we talk about questions that need to get answered for exploration, Redemption needs a kimberlite discovery. And so hopefully over the next 6 weeks we'll be able to crack that nut. Mel Project is one we haven't talked a whole lot about. We acquired it a couple of years ago. We're up on the Melville Peninsula in Nunavut. It's in a pretty good locality as well. The Qilalugaq Project kimberlites that I'll be talking about here just in a little bit are located about 200 kilometers to the southwest. To the north are the Aviat kimberlites of Stornoways. Both are diamond bearing. Mel was identified as an area where there were indicator minerals from some previous workers, reasonably well-defined trains. What we liked about the indicator train there is it is the full suite of indicator minerals. So we're seeing pyrope garnets, we're seeing eclogitic garnets. The mineral chemistry is indicative of having come from diamond stable mantle, which is very important. And last year we went up and collected just over 200 till samples. Again, in this case, we essentially doubled the number of till samples collected from the property previously. Those results are just coming in right now, and ideally we'll have an update within the next few weeks on how this is going. But the whole purpose of this is to fully define these trains, narrow down where the potential bedrock sources would be, and looking to identify drill targets for moving forward. The Qilalugaq Project, when I was here last year, it was our principal project. It was front and center. We were just in the final stages of processing a bulk sample that we collected from the Q1-4 kimberlite and leading up to a diamond valuation. And I had this slide up just talking about the real positive attributes that this project has. And a number of these attributes remain the same. It's in an area in Nunavut with a settled land claim, so it's very stable from that perspective. Key thing with this project, and particularly the location of Q1-4, is its proximity to the community of Nauyat and to tidewater. It's only 7 kilometers away. When we look at the history of successful mining developments in Nunavut, they've been located essentially on tidewater, and this fits that bill. It's a large kimberlite. It's a significant diamond resource, and really, I guess you could call it a diamond inventory right now. We look at the valuation from the sample and the parcel of diamonds that we recovered from our 1,500 ton sample last year. The valuation was reported in June, and it was low. It was too low to really kick this project up over a hurdle and make it move forward. The valuators themselves, their number one conclusion from looking at that parcel is that the parcel was too small to make any conclusions from it. And it's important to keep that in mind. But it also did suffer from the fact that when we look at the diamonds that were, of the 11,000 diamonds in the parcel, there was 30 diamonds greater than about 2/3 of a carat in size, and they weren't particularly nice. They weren't particularly valuable. And when you're looking at a parcel of that size, all it takes is 1 or 2 valuable stones to really make a difference in how the parcel looks. One of the key things then that we need to deal with this parcel, and as we look at how to advance it forward, is, well, is that it? Is that the final word, or is there a chance here that there is some hidden value? And we talked about it this time last year, and continuing to look at the presence of some colored diamonds within this parcel. There were some concerns with those stones in terms of their shape, in terms of their potential yield, in terms of whether they truly are fancy colored diamonds. in terms of whether you can even polish them and not break them in the process. So we've taken a few of these diamonds and we're going through a polishing exercise, and we're still working our way through that. We have polished two of the better looking crystals. This photo is one, and I start by saying that a photo never does a diamond justice, but this stone has been polished into a 0.14 round brilliant. It's a fancy deep orangey yellow diamond. It's a bit of a mouthful. It is a color certified through Canadian Gem Labs in Vancouver. One question we can answer right now from having done this is that the diamonds are beautiful, they're attractive. And we know the whole point of this is we're trying to find diamonds that can be cut and polished into stones that are attractive, that people would want to buy. These are beautiful diamonds. They are fancy colored stones. Having orange in them is really important when looking at it from a value perspective. The absence of brown is equally important, because brown is something that will tend to just detract from value. And I think for these two stones in particular, now we can say that, yeah, they deserve a premium price. Now, what impact would that have on the ultimate valuation? And that's where our arm waving really begins, and we have further work to do. I think one additional question that we need to answer, and we're in the process of trying to do that, is when we look at the larger stones, would they be also considered to be these fancy yellow colors or fancy orangey yellow colors? We get positive results from that sort of exercise, then we get to really arm waving and waving our arms and saying, well, what's the likelihood of getting a rough stone that we could then polish into, say, a 1 carat finished product, and what would that stone be worth? Maybe a 2 carat or a 3 carat. And at the end of the day, would that be enough to kick the valuation up to this deposit, to make it worthwhile to move forward and evaluate the project further? So really, we're looking to justify whether we go and collect a larger sample, get enough carats to find one of those diamonds, if we can make an argument that they should be there. So that's happening in the background. Very inexpensive exercise to do. It doesn't cost us a lot of money. So while we're drilling and we look at sort of the next 4 to 6 months for North Arrow, it is pretty newsy. We're taking care of that polishing exercise. Drilling at Piku, we can look for results and how that drilling has gone and whether we've managed to find more kimberlites towards the end of this month, and then ideally will be diamond results to follow from that. Drilling at Redemption, as I mentioned, the real key thing there is there a kimberlite source? We should have that answer within the next 6 weeks, and then also the till sample results from Mel. So I think I'll leave it at that. And it's a real quick run through of what we're doing, but I think the point is having multiple kicks at the can at the exploration stage is a good way to go.
Right.